Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zone Defense. We talk all things NBA and NFL. Be sure to follow us on Spotify at Zone Defense Podcast, on Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and smash that subscribe button down below because it really helps out our channel a lot. Also, drop a comment down below and let us know how long you think Urban Meyer will actually be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Today, we'll be doing our Week 5 NFL game picks. How's it going, Roman?
I'm good, Drew. I mean, another week, another lead on the pick'em, so I'm excited about that. Extending it a little bit over Chris is always a good thing. Chris is unfortunately not here today, and we're actually doing something a little off schedule. Normally record these episodes Thursday, right before the Thursday night game. Unfortunately, we have to push it till Friday, so that's why our Thursday night picks are already in there. We'll kind of recap a little bit of that in a little bit with injuries, but overall, I'm excited for another week of football.
Yeah, that was a good game last night between the Rams and the Seahawks. It might be danger time there for Seattle. I think they're what 1-4
Two
now,
and
right?
three,
Two
two
and
and three.
three. That's not as bad then, but still not great. Then the Rams after their first loss of the year last week, they were able to rebound and with a nice victory, pretty convincing too. It was kind of close there for a little bit, but they were able to take care of business there down the stretch. But I'll let you dive into the news and notes here.
Yeah, so another big batch of injuries to talk about. Jimmy G, he's dealing with another injury. He was questionable throughout the week. He sat out today on Friday, so we might see Trey Lance make his first start of his career on Sunday. We'll have to see. Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback for Denver, he's in a concussion protocol. He hasn't been ruled out yet, so we might see him or Drew Lock, who has finished last week's game. We'll see. Joe Mixon, he's questionable with ankle injury. I don't think it's looking good for him, though. David Montgomery, he's supposed to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a knee injury. That's rough for him. Had a good game against the Lions, but unfortunately he'll be out for a few weeks. Amari Cooper came out of last week's game for a little bit with a hamstring injury, but he came back in, so I think he'll play. Will Fuller, he'll be out a couple weeks with a broken finger, so that sucks for the Dolphins, who are still relying on Jacoby Brissett for this week, and Tua should be back next week. Logan Thomas, head in for Washington. He has a hamstring injury. He got put in IR. He'll be out for 4 weeks, so that's a huge blow for them. And even Antonio Gibson, he has a fractured shin, I believe. He's supposed to play tomorrow or play Sunday, but we'll have to see. He's questionable. Romeo Aquara, the only defensive injury on the board for the Lions. Obviously, we got to put him in there, out for the year with the Achilles injury. Even more brutal for a tough Lions team. Then the Thursday night injuries that we'll talk about. Chris Carson, he didn't even play on the Thursday night game with a neck injury. Apparently, it's supposed to be pretty serious. It could be long term. We'll have to see. Alex Collins filled in for him, and then Russell Wilson. I think it was third quarter, I believe. He made contact with Aaron Donald's hand on a release, and his middle finger, the tip of his middle finger, kind of got jacked up, and unfortunately couldn't finish the game. Geno Smith had to fill in there. Stafford, he also had a finger injury on his pointer finger on the throwing hand, but however, was able to finish the game, so he should be fine for next week. Wilson, however, might not be able to start, and in which case Geno Smith would start. So just something to follow there in terms of injuries. We did have a couple big transactions, though. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore got traded from the Patriots after being reported that he was going to be released. He was actually traded to the Panthers for a sixth-round pick of 2023. So that's a huge move for them. I mean, he's supposed to be out a couple more weeks. He's still on the pup list, but when they get him back, if he's healthy, he'll pair very nicely with C.J. Henderson, and that Panthers D will be a force to reckon with. Gilmore returning home. He played at South Carolina in college, so good story for him. And then the Cowboys released linebacker Jalen Smith. Kind of another very surprising move. He didn't have a great season, but he was supposed to be one of those mainstays in the linebacking core with Parsons and Van Der Esch. But he got cut, and then the Packers swooped him up for the season. A great move for them. They definitely need the help on defense with Zadarius Smith still out, so he probably won't play this week. Neither will Gilmore. But when they both come back to their respective teams, I think they'll be a whole lot better with them. And the last note, as Drew kind of mentioned at the top, Urban Meyer doing Urban Meyer things. Last week they lost the Thursday night game, brutal comeback loss for them. But apparently Urban Meyer did not go back to Jacksonville with the team, but rather stayed in Columbus. Went to a bar apparently and had some women dancing on him. Apparently none of them were his wife, but he apologized as you kind of have to do at that point. But the owner said that he has to earn our respect back. I don't think that's going to happen with Drew and I because I don't think we had respect for him in the first place. But who knows what kind of clown show will be going on over there. Obviously, Chark is also out for the year, so brutal blows for Jacksonville. Doesn't seem like the team, however, is taking it pretty personally. They're just going to kind of blow past it. Hopefully get a win. Maybe that will change the direction of that team. But Urban Meyer doesn't look like he'll finish the year with the team, but or next year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. I have some takes on the Urban Meyer stuff, but I'll touch
I'm
on the
sure you
first
do.
few points that you said first. Injuries suck. I mean, feels like throughout our preview episodes, we kept talking about how seemed like every guy we were talking about was, oh, this guy could get hurt. This guy's got injury. This guy injury. This guy's got injury history, and we kind of lucked out there the first couple of weeks, but these last few weeks have really been tough for and already week 5 too, because we, as you mentioned, Carson and Wilson were also hurt there in Thursday Night Football, so that's not great. It is kind of nice to see, though. Trey Lance will get to start here for San Francisco. No shots to Jimmy G, but San Francisco hasn't looked great after a solid start to the year. So hopefully that Lance is the thing that can unlock them. It'll be really fun to watch. I think Gilmore going to the Panthers. I think they got what C.J. Henderson 2 weeks ago, and they got Gilmore now. So they're all in. They had their first loss last week, so they're 3-1, which is still a really good start for Carolina. And Chris has already got them beating the Eagles this week, and I think I might have them beating the Eagles this week too. So 4-1, getting a past his prime cornerback, but still a good guy, a guy who can really give some veteran leadership to their team is going to be really fun to watch. And then here we go, Urban Meyer. I mean, what are we doing here, Urban? I mean, and the weird thing too is his wife was like okay with it. I don't know if you saw some of the Twitter posts that were going around, but she was like kind of like, yeah, he's got to chill out. It's just tough loss. He's got to, just relax. He's got to burn some steam. And I was just like, I mean, I'm not married, but I feel like if my wife saw me doing stuff like that, I mean, it was pretty graphic. No kids look up that video. Let's just say that. But the video was pretty gross and disturbing, and he was some of the pictures too. He looked very drunk. And of course he was repping his Ohio State stuff. So, yeah, it's not a good look for Urban. I mean, we all kind of called it. I think Chris loved the move.
He did, yeah.
Back when we did our coaching carousel review back in whatever that was, March. But yeah, so now it's not looking great. You and I were both kind of like, how long is it actually going to last? And I feel like it's going to come to an end here sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Yeah. So good job, Urban Meyer, for shooting yourself in the foot again. Okay. Did you have any other comments about the news and notes, or can we jump into the pickup
No,
here?
let's get into it.
All right. So as Roman mentioned at the beginning, we were unfortunately not able to record before the Thursday night episode, but we all did submit our picks. And obviously we were all correct. This is not rigged. I swear to God. We all picked the Rams because the Rams are a better team and they took care of business. They won. So we all picked up a point there. But now we've got the Lions and the Vikings. And since, Roman, you are the big Lions fan here, who do you have winning this matchup?
Yeah, Minnesota last week took a very bad loss to the Browns, lost 14-7. Their offense was not rolling at all. However, I mean, they're playing a good defense with Myles Garrett, so that's completely understandable. Detroit could have won against the Bears. I think that was still a winnable game. A lot of missed opportunities there. They had them where they had the Bears defense where they wanted them, but couldn't capitalize with some costly turnovers and some bad play calls and execution wise. And even this week, they might be without Penei Sewell or T.J. Hawkinson. They're both trending in the right direction, but they are both limited in practice this week. So there's a chance they both don't play. I think they both will play. However, you're still looking at missing Trey Flowers or Tyrell Williams. Obviously, Okudah's out for the year. Okora is out for the year. So it's going to be rough. It's just a matter of not getting blown out because I think whether Minnesota even has Dalvin Cook or not, because Cook's still questionable to play, I think no matter what, it should be a pretty ugly game, and I'm not looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Minnesota. I've been kind of on the Minnesota bandwagon here a little bit recently. I don't really know why. I think they're 1-3, so I don't really know what bandwagon I'm getting on. But I think they're a decent team. I think they got some talent. And I think, yeah, unfortunately for the Lions, I picked them last week to beat the Bears. They didn't really show up. They did show up until they got within the 20-yard line, and then they forgot how to play football, and then they never scored. So that sucked. But yeah, especially if those guys are not playing at all or extremely limited. I mean, that's not going to be great for the Lions. I think the Vikings are going to get this is a get right game for Minnesota, because I do think they still have a shot at the playoffs, even though they're, like I said, 1-3. So, and then obviously Chris also picked the Vikings. No surprise there. Somewhat surprisingly here, maybe because he's been so talking so much about how the Falcons suck. He's got him beating the Jets, but the Jets also are very, very bad. This is just like the trash bowl here, isn't it? I'll start us off here. My Falcons pick from last week almost came to fruition. I will say that. The typical Matt Ryan, typical Falcons, they choked down the stretch and they lost to Washington. But yeah, this is an easy pick for me though. The Jets suck. You know, they did get a victory last week, so I'm going Falcons. You're not putting any names down here, so you might be going Jets here. Well, who do you got in this matchup?
I will say first of all, this game is in London, so it's a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time game in London. So if we're gonna send any teams over to London, I'm glad it's these two. But like you mentioned, though, the Jets have some momentum. They beat a good Titans team, regardless. I mean, they didn't have AJ Brown or Julio, so that's one thing. But they did have Derrick Henry, and he didn't do that much, or enough to win, I should say. Zach Wilson looked a lot better in his first win. I do really want to take him, but also Atlanta, even though they'll be without Calvin Ridley, actually, he's not making the trip due to personal reasons. You still have Pitts, who I'll talk about later. You still have Cordell Patterson, who's a great story this year. I think he alone could beat the Jets defense. So as much as I wanted to pick the Jets, I will also be picking Atlanta because I think their offense is just better even without Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to London for getting these just prime time, awesome team matchups. At least Jacksonville's not going over this year like they do every year. I mean, that's come on, man.
That's their
But
home field.
yeah, true. Soon to be home field probably. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game though. The Jets, I mean, they beat the Titans, and I mean, are
Yeah.
the Titans good? I mean, I have no idea now. I am so confused about them and their trajectory. But yeah, the Jets aren't gonna go. They almost what they went like one in. I guess they could still go 1-15 or 1-16 this year. But last year it took a very long time for them to get their first victory. So good to see them get off the snot or whatever the saying is last week and get a victory. But I don't think it's happened again here against the Falcons. Now we've got the Packers and the Bengals. The Bengals have looked really good recently, even though they made me scared there on Thursday Night Football last week. They almost lost to Jacksonville, but then they took care of business there in the second half. Green Bay, after a tough week one, has really started to kind of assert their dominance on the NFL. Chris has already got the Packers winning this game. This might be a little bit of a chalky pick as well, but Roman, who do you want in this matchup?
Well, I want Cincinnati, but of course I'm going to pick the Green Bay. I think they're just a lot better offensively and defensively. Cincinnati, great story. I think they can maybe compete down the line, but this game is just not their time to shine. I think they're getting T Higgins back, so that'll be huge for them. Obviously, Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd still having good seasons, but I think Green Bay is just going to be too dominant, even though Cincinnati will be home.
Yeah, I want to pick Cincinnati. I really do. They're a great story. But as I just mentioned, they beat a team they should have beat by only what, like 3 points, I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a one score game, wasn't it? I think it doesn't matter. It was close,
Yeah.
and they almost lost there. It was not looking good to start the game. And Green Bay, as much as we were, writing their obituary after week one, they've looked good since then. So I think they'll take care of business despite it being in Cincinnati, and get the victory. Now we've got the Broncos and the Steelers. We got everyone's high on the Broncos. They're the sexy, frisky team everyone's high on. The Steelers kind of suck, but they are kind of good. They're kind of mediocre. They're average a little bit. They had some injuries. Big Ben, he hasn't looked super healthy recently, but I don't know. Teddy Bridgewater's out of this game. This might be kind of a controversial pick, but I'm going to go with Chris here. I'm going to pick the Steelers, even though I know everybody, loves the Broncos. Everyone's, super high on the Broncos. I'll go with the Steelers here, but it'll be interesting to see how their quarterback situation shakes out there in Denver, because I do think if they have a good quarterback play, I think I'm going Denver, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh here. I feel like it's maybe a little bit more of a safer choice.
Yeah, the quarterback play will definitely make the difference in this game, even though Teddy Bridgewater has not been officially ruled out yet, so there's still a chance he might play. I'm expecting Drew Lock to be in there. And although I'm a little bit higher on Lock than you and Chris are, I think he can still make his way into a starting role one day, as he could with Denver this week. I think that, Pittsburgh just has the much better defense. Najee's rolling, Deontay Johnson, Juju, they're rolling. It's just a matter of Big Ben. I mean, it's not looking good here. A few more games, he could. I mean, they didn't. They said they wouldn't bench him, but I think they might have to come to the point where they could. Dwayne Haskins could see some time very shortly. I do want to pick Denver, but also Cortland Sutton. He is questionable now. Came up on the injury report. I will go Pittsburgh. However, I'm not feeling very good about it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at too. I don't like Pittsburgh at all. Um, but I just Denver's got a lot of question marks, and I did completely forgot about the Cortland Sutton um, tag as well. So that's another concerning thing to think about.
And I'm not a big fan of Vic Fangio, as he made some pretty poor taste comments after last week's game, because the Ravens were like 3, 4 yards away from a rushing record or tying a rushing record, and they went for it instead of taking the knee. And he said it was crap, but you're crap, Vic Fangio. So
Okay, Fangio shots here, like it. Um, Now we're moving on to the battle for Florida between the Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay squeaked out a victory last week, but I'd say New England deserved to win that game. I think they were the better team. Tampa Bay just somehow found a way to score a couple more points than New England, but I thought Mac Jones outplayed Brady the whole game. I thought defensively, really, for the most part, that they looked at it. Really, the only difference between the two teams that I thought was Leonard Fournette and their running game. Tampa Bay's was way better than New England. New England could get anything going down on the ground. But other than that, I thought Tampa Bay did not look great, which is kind of concerning because the Patriots, I think, are a solid team, but they're only 1-3 right now, so that's a little concerning. But the Dolphins, they're still kind of a team in shambles. And they lost last week, I believe, to Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken.
yep.
So yeah, so I mean, for me. Actually, this isn't even my turn. I don't know why I'm going, but I'm already kind of going. So I'll give you the next two. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay here. I feel like it's again. I'm going chalk, but yeah, I think it's a get right game for them. They squeaked out a victory last week. They lost 2 weeks ago. So give me Tampa Bay. It's a nice get right game against a banged up Dolphins team.
Yeah, like I mentioned, they won't get Tua back till next week, so they'll be having Jacoby Brissett this week. And like you mentioned, I agree with you completely. I think Mac Jones outplayed Tom Brady by a lot. I think, I mean, Belichick's defense stepped up. They looked like they influenced the play quite a bit. I mean, even though Tom Brady made some throws and didn't connect as much as he wanted to, I know Antonio Brown had a couple huge drops. He looked pretty sporadic. He never looked comfortable. So credit to the Patriots on that. But obviously, Tom Brady, I wanted him to win last week, and he got the dub, so I'm very happy for him. And then this game should be much easier than last week, so I think Tampa Bay wins.
Yeah, not too much to add there. I mean, there's a world where there's a roadmap, as we like to say on the show, that where the Dolphins squeak out a victory. But I think it's Tampa Bay's game to lose because they beat New England, and I think New England's a lot better than Miami. So now we've got New Orleans and Washington. I'm a little surprised that Chris put Washington down here because Washington does not look great. They were able to win last week against Atlanta, but it's Atlanta, and they probably should have lost that game if not for some late game heroics there down the stretch. J.D. McKissick with that awesome touchdown there. In New Orleans, they had a heartbreaking loss to the Giants in overtime. So both these teams aren't great. I'm kind of leaning towards one team, but I'll let you go, Roman. Who are you leaning towards? Maybe it'll swing my vote a little bit.
I personally expected both of these teams to be in a better place than they are now by this point in
Yes.
the season. New Orleans is not looking as good as I thought they would be, even though they had a great week one. Jameis Winston has kind of fallen back to earth a little bit. I still think he's the answer there. I'm not going to fall off that take at all, but he just needs to be a lot better. And Washington, I mean, Heineke is Heineke. He's good, but he's bad. Had a good week last week and was good enough to win. Antonio Gibson, we'll see if he plays. If he's out, that's going to be a huge blow to them. I'm like you mentioned, I'm not really looking forward. I'm not excited about either of these two teams. I don't know what to make about any of them yet. But I'm gonna go with the Saints because I think they need a bounce back win. I think they have at least the pieces to do so, whereas Washington might be in a hole in a little bit.
Man, my heart was telling me Saints. I'm going Saints because first I was like, I'm gonna tilt here. I'm gonna leave Roman on island, but I think I'm gonna leave Chris on island instead because um, for all the reasons you already mentioned. I believe in the Saints offense more. I think overall they've looked better than Washington. I mean, Washington's defense has not looked good at all, especially compared to like the elite unit that it was last year. I think people might have figured some stuff out. Sean Payton's a great offensive mind there in New Orleans as the head coach. So yeah, I think New Orleans is going to win this game. So hopefully, if the standings are prove anything, you and I know a little more than when we're talking about than Chris does. So hopefully we're right here. Um, yeah, so move on to Philly, Carolina, and I know I said you'd have the next two, but I'm gonna go first here because I already said earlier who I was gonna pick, so I'm just gonna put Carolina in there. I think Philly got a great Week 1 win, but it was against Atlanta. They suck. I feel like I've said that 15 times this show, but they suck. And Carolina, they still played well. DJ Moore went off last week against Dallas. Sam Darnold looked really good. I think he's leading the league in rushing touchdowns. Just really crazy to think. And they've obviously added Gilmore. I think their defense is only going to get better, and I think Philly is an inferior team to Carolina. And I think it's going to be a close game. It would not surprise me if Philly wins this game, but I'm going with Carolina. So who do you like though?
Both of these teams were in competitive losses last week. I mean, Philly, I mean, obviously they're going to lose to Kansas City, but it made it a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And obviously, Carolina went toe to toe with Dallas and almost won that game. Just some costly picks by Sam Darnold to Trayvon Diggs was the factor in that game. Chris, he's really latched on to these Philadelphia Eagles. I coin them as Chris's Eagles. But wouldn't it be funny if I picked them against himself and they ended up winning? That's exactly what I'm going to do this week. I think Philly can genuinely win this game. I mean, their defense is not as good as it used to be, and they could get dominated by Carolina's offense. But I think Jalen Hurts can do enough to win. And obviously, they have Sanders, great wide receivers with Devontae Smith. Rager needs to get involved, and then just a couple costly turnovers, and they can get this done.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pick. I mean, I'm obviously I've hitched my wagon to Sam Darnold, and I'm riding off into the sunset or into a ditch. We're gonna have to wait and see. But
I'm
um,
sure. I'm sure Chris made this pick thinking that CMC was going to play, which is fair enough. If CMC played, I would have switched my pick too, probably. However, he's out, and Hubbard he didn't do a whole lot last week. I'm
yeah,
expecting a little bit more from him this week. He's on my fantasy team, so I hope he does well. But other than that, I think this game is much more winnable for Philly than it could have been.
yeah, very true. And I mean, they haven't looked terrible. They haven't looked great though. They got smacked by Dallas that one week. I mean,
Yeah,
they haven't looked great. After that week one game though, Jalen Hurts looked like Kyler Murray plus Patrick Mahomes combined. He looked like he was gonna be an MVP candidate, and then he's kind of cooled off a little bit. But I think that's gonna be a really good game though. I think it's gonna be a game that maybe not people are gonna be like tuning into, but then down the stretch on Red Zone, it's gonna be like the big box game because I think it's gonna be a good game overall. This game's not gonna be a good game overall because what are these? Jacksonville sucks. But like Tennessee just lost to the Jets. Really, how much better are the Jets than the Jags? I don't know. So like, am I gonna pick the Jags here against the Titans? I don't think so because the Jags suck. But then also, if you think about it, maybe like Jacksonville's like, oh man, our coach hates us. Not hates us, but they're like, screw this guy. Maybe they want to like go out there and win because they hate him. Maybe they want to suck because they hate him and they want to get him fired. There's so much controversy there. It's only week 5 here. I mean, it's only week 5, and we got 12 weeks left. I mean, Urban Meyer, no way Urban Meyer makes it past the end of the season. So yeah, I'm going Tennessee. You already put it in there, but I think this could be a lot closer of a game than people expect because I think Tennessee's fraud. I think they're fraud. They're fraudulent. AJ Brown, what? He's the nothing. Who's there? Oh, Josh Reynolds. He was the main guy. That was yeah, right. Yeah, it's his
and
name,
my
Josh
guy
Reynolds,
my
right?
guy Nick didn't do anything last week either.
Yeah, it was Reynolds. It was Reynolds, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill. Julio was hurt. He's hurt. I think he's out. He's most likely out again
Yep,
this week.
yep.
Um, and then AJ Brown, more like AJ Clown. Am I right? He sucks. Guy sucks. Does nothing. So yeah. So I think it's gonna be a lot closer than people expect. Is what I'm trying to say. Because Tennessee, I don't think they're a great team. And that who's gonna win that division? I mean, that's a whole other conversation for a different episode. I mean, that's tough. Indy, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, this game has definitely lost its appeal since Tennessee lost last week. I mean, they have Derrick Henry though; they should be fine. I mean, AJ Brown's coming back; he'll obviously be involved. Jacksonville, they didn't look too bad last week. They went up on a lead, so maybe they can compete. Lawrence did a lot better last week, and they'll obviously have Laviska, Marvin Jones more involved as well. Hopefully, that brings good things to that offense because they need it. Dan Arnold, who they recently traded for, was involved as well, so maybe he'll get a little bit more work this week. They're at home, but yeah, Tennessee should win this game, and this could be a blowout. I think if Derrick Henry does Derrick Henry things and AJ Brown's actually involved, it could be over pretty quickly.
They just lost the Jets though, man. Like I don't
I know
know.
it's hard to
Like
it's
and
hard to believe that.
they got plowed by the Cardinals, who I think are very good. But
Yeah,
still, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. Now this game, Houston, I mean, how about Houston, right? I mean, we were like, they're the worst team in the league. I'd say they're definitely better than the Jets. They're definitely better than the Jags. They're probably better than the Lions. So shout out to the Texans and David Culley out there, just getting his guys, just grinding out there. They're still have only won one game, but that's one more game than whatever
two
the
other
Jags
teams.
and the Lions have won.
Yeah,
So shout out to them. But yeah, I already said New England. I think has looked really good. Yeah, it's my turn to go. Yeah, I can put them. New England was really good. I think this is an easy game for them. I think they're a lot better than their record indicates at only 1-3. And I think Mac Jones is going to tear this defense apart. And Damian Harris is going to have a big game. I think he had like -4 yards against Tampa Bay last week because their front is so insane. So I think it's going to be a big game for him here. But yeah, so I got New England.
Yeah, the rushing attack was non-existent for New England last week, and I will say though that the last time these two teams played, I picked Houston and they won. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna do it again though. I'm gonna pick the Patriots because I think Mac Jones is just he's gonna be a good star in this league. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He played up to prime time last week, so they should win this game.
Yeah, the battle of the red, white, and blue teams here in this week between the Patriots and the Texans. So, I think the Patriots team. I think they're still a playoff team, even though they've haven't gotten off to the best start record wise. So, um, yeah, should be a dominant win by them, but you never know. Now we've got the Bears and the Raiders. The Raiders finally lost a game last week to um, the Chargers. The Bears had a kind of a get right game against the Lions, but like they didn't look great. Like they didn't look that great. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm fascinated that Chris already went with the Bears. I'm kind of surprised by that a little bit, but he seems like he's always in on the Bears for some reason. I don't know what his deal is. But Roman, I'll let you go first here. Who do you got between the Bears and the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean the Bears last week, their best player was David Montgomery, and he's out, so that's going to be huge. That's a huge loss for them. The defense looked fine, but it was against the depleted offensive line for Detroit. So I mean, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, Vegas isn't any better, so that could be in favor for the Bears. But they need to get Allen Robinson more involved. I mean, all fantasy owners are absolutely upset that he hasn't been gotten involved as much. I mean, Robert Woods, he voiced his concerns, and he had a huge Thursday night game. So who's to say that Allen Robinson can't do the same? He should be Fields' number one target, although Mooney is also getting involved. So that offense should be up to speed. I mean, I think Fields will have a good game. Vegas, they are coming off a loss, though. It was pretty one sided. I think I'm going to go with Vegas. I was planning on taking the Bears, but I now flipped. I'm going to take Vegas in this game.
I thought this was going to be the one where I was different than everybody else on, but I guess not. I'm also going with the Raiders. We're leaving Chris out on an island once again. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like the Bears won last week, but it was against the Lions. I honestly feel like the Lions outplayed them in several aspects. So, and the Raiders
Yes.
did not look good against the Chargers, but the Chargers are a way better team, I think, than the Bears. So, give me the Raiders in this one. They helped me out there on Monday Night Football Week 1 against the Ravens, so I'm sticking with my guy Derek Carr and the whole squad. Josh Jacobs too. He had a decent game, coming back off the several injuries that he was that he was recovering from. So, yeah, I think I like the Raiders in this matchup. Okay, now we got Browns Chargers. I'll go first because I think it's probably obvious who I'm leaning towards. I got the stuff on right now. Give me the Browns. We saw. Oh my god, I just messed that up. We saw the Chargers struggle against. Well, I mean, not even a great defense anymore, given recent events. But like the Washington, they didn't look great against them. Um, I know they looked really good against the Raiders, but I don't know. I think this team's very good, the Chargers, but I think the Browns might just be a little bit better. The big concern is going to be Baker and his health and everything. But and the Chargers defense is also very good. So if they can limit the run game, then maybe they have the Chargers to get a chance to win. But I mean, this is the game of the week, and I think it's going to be a very close down to the final possession. But I guess if you look at it this way, the Chiefs beat the Browns, and then the Chargers beat the Chiefs. So maybe the Chargers can beat the Browns. I don't know, but I'm wearing this stuff. I think it's going to be an awesome game. Give me the Browns. Okay, Roman, you get to decide who's going to be left on an island here, me or Chris.
Yeah, this game is really hard to pick, honestly. I mean, this game will fall on Baker Mayfield. I mean, he had a torn labrum in his left shoulder, so not his throwing shoulder, but people are already calling for his job. I mean, he hasn't gotten the extension yet, but I mean, obviously he's the guy there regardless. So he should be able to win games. This game will be pretty close. A lot of great fantasy pieces in this game, both good defenses. A lot of people on the injury report for Cleveland, a little bit more to mention, but Chargers coming off a great win last week. Herbert really good. This is really tough. This is a tough game to pick.
Right? It's
Um,
possibly the
I
hardest
will
game all year to
I
pick
will
so
go
far.
with the Chargers, but I think it'll be a very close game. And the Cleveland's defense could show up and dominate, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the games of the year, and I don't want to amp it up too much, but definitely. Oh, actually, I just realized who's on Sunday Night Football this week. That's another interesting game, with not one clear winner, I think. So, but yeah, we got. I'll be honest. Some of these early games in this slate, I was kind of like, okay, Jets, Falcons, great, Packers, Bengals, okay. Well, now we're getting to the juicy stuff here. This 4 o'clock in the primetime window. These really good games. But first, we have to talk about this crap game between the Giants and the Cowboys. Um, yeah, the Giants won last week, as we mentioned earlier, against the Saints in overtime. But the
Shout out Jabril
Cowboys,
Peppers. Oh,
yes, shout out to Jurbo Peppers. I've already seen they've made shirts about that. It's cool seeing a Michigan guy kind of get that much recognition. He's been pretty good. I think this might be a closer game than people expect, but I do feel like there's a clear favorite. Roman, take it away here. Are you going to go with the Giants or no? You're not going to go with the Giants. You're gonna go with Cowboys. Okay, I agree.
yeah. I mean, it was a good story for the Giants to get their first win of the season last week. I mean, looked really good. Daniel Jones looked solid. But I think Dallas is just better all around. And obviously, Dallas is my division winner, so they're gonna beat teams like the Giants. So should be a good one though.
Yeah. Um, I think this might be a closer game than people expect. But I think Dallas is the clear favorite here, even though the Giants depends on what Giants team shows up. They've looked really bad and they've looked really good
Yeah,
at some point. So we'll have to wait and see. Um, Speaking of really good and really bad, we got the Niners, who have looked really good at some points, really bad at some points, against the Cardinals, who have looked really good. It feels like throughout. They had a big win last week against the Rams. And as Chris likes to say, whatever, Red Sea or Rise Up or whatever he likes to
the
say, I let the
Fraudinals.
and yeah, I call them the Fraudinals, but they keep proving me wrong. At least so far this year. The Niners, I feel like I picked them like the last couple weeks, and they've let me down. So I'm going with the Cardinals here. I'm riding that Red Sea wave. Even though it's going to be awesome to see Trey Lance and see what he can do against a Niners defense that's still pretty good, or not a Niners defense, Cardinals defense. It's actually been pretty good. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun game though. Definitely one of the games of the week, games of the year maybe.
Yeah, another high flying offenses going against each other. Obviously, two good defenses as well. Arizona had a dominating win against the Rams last week. Completely manhandled them. It wasn't even close at any point in that game. Kyler Murray looking like an MVP candidate for sure. San Francisco, though, coming off a loss to Seattle, definitely could have won that game, though. Trey Lance had a wide open touchdown to Debo and blown coverage. I mean, obviously, Lance will have the pieces and the weapons to succeed, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he handles the pressure because obviously there'll be a lot coming from Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. And Arizona's defense is no slouch. I feel like people have been underrating them just a little bit, but they've been really good so far this year. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. Do I go with the Fraudinals or do I keep on going with the roll? I'm gonna take the Niners in this game. I think even if Lance doesn't start, this could be a closer game. But I expect Lance to start, obviously, and even then, I think they have a much better chance of winning. I mean, he could fly around the field, throwing, passing. He has the weapons to win. So this game could be close, and definitely tight down the stretch.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a close game. And maybe to support your Niners pick, this just in, the Niners just got some bulletin board material. Cards linebacker Marcus Golden just said that in reference to Trey Lance and how they're preparing for him, they said he ain't Kyler Murray. He's no Kyler. So maybe Trey Lance wants to prove the haters wrong, goes out there and plays really well. He's looked decent so far in his limited playing. So I mean, I think this is going to be a really, really awesome game. Again, I go back to that first early window. Not a lot of great games, but this 4 o'clock window between with the Browns and the Chargers, as well as the Cardinals and Niners. I mean, it's going to be hard to kind of keep two eyes on both screens. I think this is going to be a really fun game. That's going to probably come down to the final possession, or maybe even the final play. Who knows? All right, so now we've got final game of the Sunday slate between the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs finally aren't below 500 again. They're back at 2-2 after their win last week. The Bills did not look good to start the year. They've looked like the same old Bills in the recent weeks. Um, So I think it's going to be a really awesome game. Going to be a battle of the AFC rematch of, excuse me, the AFC Championship game of last year. Roman, who do you want to pick here in this game?
Yeah, the Bills have been looking a lot better the past 3 weeks, but they've also been going up against three backup quarterbacks in those 3 games. So I think they could be a lot better, even though they did blow up the Texans last week, 40-0, I believe. Um, yeah, those backup quarterbacks aren't Patrick Mahomes, they aren't Travis Kelce, they aren't Tyreek Hill. This should be a game that the Chiefs win. I mean, they definitely need this game more than ever if they want to vie for the playoffs. Although I think this could be another rematch. We could see these teams down the line again in the playoffs. I'm gonna go Kansas City. Chris took Buffalo, calling the upset here, but I don't even know if Buffalo is favored or not. They might be, but I'm going Kansas City to win.
Man, this is tough. You brought up some great points. The Bills, it's hard to tell what they are because they looked awful against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh obviously isn't a great team. But then they've looked really good the last few weeks, but they haven't been playing great teams. So what do I do here? The Chiefs have looked kind of up and down. I'm going to say this: the Chiefs got embarrassed on primetime television just a couple weeks ago to the Ravens. They had the Clyde fumble. Clyde's actually looked pretty good the last couple weeks as well. I think they're gonna get some vengeance here. I think maybe I think the Chiefs might still live rent free in the Bills' head, especially after their dominant win last year in the championship game. So give me the Chiefs. Yeah, we're leaving Chris out on an island once again. But yeah, give me the. I think it's gonna be a really awesome game though. Again, I feel like I've said this 5 times. One of the games of the year, I think potentially. Okay, so this is not going to be one of the games of the year. I can guarantee you that. The Ravens on prime time again. I feel like they've been on prime time like Monday night or Sunday night football like 4 out of the 5 weeks to start the year. I'll have to go back and check that out. But the Colts, they got a win last week. They helped me out in the pick 'em, but I don't know. They're not as good as the Ravens. So for me, this is an easy pick. Give me the Ravens in this matchup. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess they could surprise. I mean, of course, the Ravens lost to the Raiders, so you never know what could happen on Monday Night Football. But for me, it's pretty easy. I think the Ravens are going to win, especially considering it's at home.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to win too. Nothing much to really add. Well, Carson Wentz still on his two sprained ankles. We'll see if he's as healthy than he could be. Jonathan Taylor though, he'll be there. Pittman, he'll be there. Those are the only two primary weapons on that team on offense. Their defense they're solid, so maybe they could give Lamar Jackson some fits, but their offense is going to keep rolling on the rushing attack. Maybe go for that record because it's still going on for them, the rushing record. So we'll see what happens. But I think Baltimore wins. Well, and I will also mention though that last week they didn't have the best rushing game, obviously, since they had to wait until the last play of the game to go over 100 yards. But they did get beat, or Denver got beat through the air. So Lamar Jackson's using his arm a little bit more, obviously connecting with Marquise Brown for a touchdown after there's a couple of drops the week before. So the offense looks better. I mean, even throwing the ball as well. So they could stop them on the run, but I think the passing game, or either way, they'll pick which way they want to win, running or passing. But I think they'll win running.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, there's so many ways they can win this game. So I mean, the Colts defense isn't bad. They could maybe sneak up on them. The Ravens, I don't think are a juggernaut by any means. Even though I think they're a really good team. They almost lost to the Lions a couple weeks ago, if not for that miracle kick by Tucker. So, um, yeah, I think it could be a closer game than maybe we're giving it credit to. I don't know if we're giving the Colts their full due, but I think the Ravens are just a better team, and I think they'll be able to win this game. Okay, I think that's it for the pick 'em. So we can move now into the fantasy picks of the week. If you're okay with this, I think we can just stay Chris's picks, both of them right
Yeah.
off the bat, since we both know them already. So he had Damian Williams, who is now the RB1 for Chicago after the David Montgomery injury, and then he also has Trey Lance, who is now the QB1 in San Francisco because of the Jimmy Garoppolo injury. So two guys, I think they're probably the two hottest waiver wire ads this week. And they have some. Trey Lance, I think, is a very risky play because they're playing a good team in Arizona. But the Damian Williams, I really like him. I know I think he was a little questionable here early in the week, so that's a little bit of a concern. But him against the Raiders, I like that a lot. So I definitely like that pick more for Chris than the Trey Lance pick. But the upside for Trey Lance, I think, is definitely way higher than that for Damian Williams. because Trey Lance could go off, but he could also give you a dud if you're kind of streaming a quarterback there. But did you have any thoughts on Chris's Lance or Williams pick?
No, I like them both. I mean, it's not a great run defense with the Raiders, so David Williams should get a lot of work. And you're right, he was a little questionable at the beginning of the week, but he is active this week or for Sunday. And then Lance, he'll be a good streamer. He might be like a Jalen Hurts type guy where he'll perform very well in losses, in which case is still good for fantasy. So I think Lance is a pretty solid option, unless the Cardinals defense make him look like a rookie, and has like 3 picks or something. Lance should be pretty serviceable this week.
Yeah, yeah. I more so like Lance as like just a waiver, like a add and stash guy.
Mhm.
Because I think if he goes off this week, and if you already have a starting caliber quarterback, you could probably trade him for a lot to a different team. If he's really, I know Golden said he wasn't the next Kyler Murray, but if he is the next Kyler Murray for fantasy purposes, it'd be awesome for Lance owners. All right, so who's your first fantasy pick here for this week?
Yeah, you already mentioned him when we talked about the matchup, but I'm going Kyle Pitts, tight end for Atlanta. I mean, this is a great matchup for him with Calvin Ridley out. I mean, he should step up pretty big. He hasn't had that completely blow up game yet, so this could be the game for him. I mean, he's looked pretty iffy the first couple of games. Obviously, he's a rookie, so that's fine. And normally tight ends don't go off in their first year. Usually takes them a couple years to really find themselves in the rotation. But I think Kyle Pitts is going to be huge this game, heavily relied on against the Jets defense, who has not looked very good. So, like I mentioned, Cal Pitts, he's definitely not on he's not on waivers or anything. But if you have him, start him because this is going to be a good game for him.
Yeah, definitely not been the start I think Kyle Pitts owners like myself were hoping for. I think he maybe got 10 points once, and every other time other than that, he's been 9. He's had a few like 4 to 5 point games in there as well. So, not great by him. But with the Ridley injury and the favorable matchup against the Jets, I think things are pointing in a good direction for him to have a big week here in Week 5. So I'm looking forward to it.
He's gotten over 10 points twice, but he still has not gotten his first touchdown yet. So I think he might have a couple this week.
Hopefully, I know like it really helped my team out as I'm taking on Chris's, super team.
Squad,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's insane. So hopefully Pitts has a big game, and I like that pick, and I'll say my pick now as well because that's the same game but different player. I believe we mentioned. I think there was 2 guys that you mentioned when we were talking about that game, and mine was Cordarrelle Patterson. So I think for basically every reason that you said, that Pitts is going to be good. I second that for Patterson. I mean, and he's been amazing even without, or yeah, excuse me, even with Calvin Ridley. I mean, I think he's had over 20 points. I think every week so far, if I'm not mistaken, and he's top 30 a couple times as well. He's just been a real diamond in the rough. This is a guy who was like a punt return, kick return specialist. I mean, he was almost out of the league several times, and he's really just found something here in Atlanta these first few weeks, and it's been awesome to see. He's definitely a little bit of a riskier play because I know for me, I'm always wondering, okay, when is the bottom going to fall out? When's he just going to go back to being the Cordarrelle Patterson we saw the last 10 years? But so far, he's been awesome. I don't think it's going to happen this week because again, the favorable matchup and as well as the Calvin Ridley injury, I think he's going to have a big week again.
And yeah, and the cool thing about him, though, I think most leagues do this. I mean, he's listed as a wide receiver and a running back, so you have some flexibility there if you want to play him in a certain spot or even in the flex. But I think he's in must-start territory, which is kind of weird to say. But I mean, for every good game he's having, you gotta put him in your lineup.
Yeah, his projections have consistently kind of gone up. I think now he's at projected at like 13 to 14 points. But like I said, he's smashed over 20, sometimes 30 points every week so far. So definitely throw him in the lineup. Are we doing the snake or did you want to give your second pick now?
I can do mine right now,
All right.
but it's another quarterback. Chris picked Trey Lance. This will be a more of a streamer option. I don't think many people are going to be picking him up as much. But Kirk Cousins. I don't know if I took your. I'm sorry, Drew. I took your guy, but that might be low hanging fruit here. But I mean, Kirk Cousins. He should have a really good game. He'll be on waivers for most leagues, but just pick him up, start him if you're in need of a quarterback. But this is definitely one of maybe the top streamer of the week. So I'm glad we're in agreement about that because it's going to be a very ugly game for Detroit just to keep hammering it home.
Man, I wanted to be different, and do a guy we haven't really talked about too much on this show, but who's having a really solid year. So I was definitely gonna go with Cousins. I should have just went first. But yeah, everything you said, favorable matchup against the Lions. He's also had, aside from last week when he took on the Browns, who are one of the best defenses in the league, where he only had 10 points. Every other week he had 22, 25, and 25 against the Bengals, Cardinals, and Seahawks. So and the Lions are significantly worse than the Bengals, Cardinals, and Seahawks. So I think you can expect 22 to 30 points from Cousins this week if you're in need of a quarterback. I honestly think he's a better streaming option than Trey Lance, simply because of the matchup and because of the track record that Cousins has had. So yeah, I obviously really like that pick. So my backup pick is another quarterback, a guy who currently in ESPN PPR leagues is the sixth best quarterback in fantasy football. He's taking on the 29th worst, or the 29th best, so one of the worst defenses against the quarterbacks in terms of fantasy in the league, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going with Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. I feel like Chris has picked him a couple times, or he loves him. He's definitely more of a Daniel Jones fan than I am, but he's had a really solid start to the year. He's averaging 23 and a half points over the first 4 weeks of the year. He's only been under 20 points once against the Falcons, where he had 16 points. Other than that, he had 21 against the Broncos, 29 against the Washington football team, and then last week he had 26 against the Saints. So I like that a lot. Like I said, the Cowboys defense has not been great against quarterbacks. So I think he could have another big week this week. He adds that extra kind of rushing ability. His throwing has been a little bit better than it was his first couple of years in the league. So um, again, if you're in need of a streaming quarterback, I definitely would go Kirk Cousins, but I think Daniel Jones might even be a little bit better than Trey Lance, in my opinion. So, but there's a lot of great streaming options that you can have this week if you're in need of a quarterback. So I'll go with Danny Dimes as my backup option.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good pick too. I mean, obviously the offense runs through Saquon, but if they're down late, he'll probably be passing the ball a lot more. It'll probably be a passing late type game for him. I mean, Sterling Shepard and Slayton are both out, so that's really unfortunate. Same with last week. But they still have Galladay. Um, and that's pretty much it on the offensive weapons. But Saquon, Galladay, I don't even know if Ingram's active, either Ingram or Rudolph, but whoever's playing tight end, he'll probably catch passes, and Daniel Jones can run, obviously. So a versatile weapon, many would say. So I think Daniel Jones is a good start this week.
Yeah, and I mean definitely those injuries are a concern. But I mean they won last week, and he still had 26 fantasy points last week without both those guys as well. So that's very good. It looks like you have some breaking news right now.
Yeah, George Kittle is doubtful for this game, so against the
Man,
Cardinals. So we'll see if he plays, but that doesn't make my pick look very good.
yeah, everyone's getting hurt already, and it's not making Chris's Trey Lance fantasy pick looking great either. So I'm have to wait and see there. That's tough. He hasn't had a great start to the year anyway, and to add an injury on top of that is definitely concerning for George Kittle and Niners fans. But yeah, other than the well wishes out to George Kittle and the Niners fans, do you have anything else you want to add before we get out of here today?
No, I mean this game or this week should be pretty exciting. I mean the morning games we were all pretty chalk on, all similar, but the afternoon games, evening games, like you mentioned, should be more differential. I'm looking forward to those a little bit more. I think the standings will reflect that next week.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see, as always, how the games shake up. If Chris can make up some ground, if maybe he can pass me, maybe I can pass you, maybe Chris can pass both of us. You never know. But yeah, it's always fun doing these. And hopefully Chris will be back next week again. But it was fun doing this with you, just a duo for this episode. But once again, we are the Zone Defense Podcast. As I just mentioned, we do these episodes on the NFL every single week, along with fantasy analysis and breaking news, emergency podcast episodes. So be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and search us on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a thing. Also, smash that like button down below and drop a comment. Let us know about any of our picks from this week. As Roman said, the late slate and the primetime slate is definitely more interesting. So if you want to focus on those games, or what you thought about the injuries, the Urban Meyer drama, or any of our fantasy picks. We love reading your comments and try to responding to them as quickly as we can. But once again, thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.